Hello. In this instructional video, what I'd like to do is explain how to create a background for a web page. And what we're going to do is create a very common type of background in which there is a margined ribbon all down the vertically down the side of the web page on the left side of the margin that maybe protrudes about an inch or so. And typically a website will use this kind of a background and put their content on the main portion of the page and maybe supply links or marginal notes and things like that inside the ribboned area. The trick is to create something that will tile because the graphic can be very, very small. And what I mean by that is on a web page, a background image will redraw itself over and over and over to the length of the page. The trick is to make something tile vertically. All you have to do is make the graphic wider than the assumed monitor width of screen and make it shorter than the assumed height of a monitor screen. Now everybody has different monitors with different settings, so this really won't work for everybody, but it certainly works for a majority of people. What we're going to do is we have our Photoshop editor or photo editor opened up. We've got our basic setup with various tools and the palettes that I normally like to work with. And let's get started. File, New. In pixels, I'm going to make this 1280, which means it's going to be wider or as wide as a majority of computer users on the World Wide Web. I doubt if there's too many computer users that are going beyond 1280 pixels. And for height, we're going to make it only 5 pixels high. And by making it only 5 pixels high, we know that it's going to tile vertically. Always use 72 resolution RGB. I like to start with a white background. Click OK. Now, in this particular case, I am viewing it at 50%. I'm going to maximize it, and I'm still viewing it at 50%. I can't view this graphic in real size at 100% because I would have scrolling, since this particular monitor that I'm using is only 1024 pixels wide. So what I do is I'm going to work with it at 50%. That's not a problem. And I also want to make sure that I have my rulers showing, and they're showing in pixels. That's going to be very important. So step one, I'm going to pick a foreground color of some kind. I only use web colors. And I think I'll pick a very soft white, a yellow, and the color I'm using is FFFFCC. That's the hexadecimal color description. Click OK. I'm going to, over here where it says Gradient Tool, I'm going to switch it with the Paint Bucket tool by holding the left mouse down. Most of you probably already have the Paint Bucket tool showing anyway. And very carefully with the Paint Bucket tool, I'll fill in the background color so that the color of my image is that yellow. Next, I'll add a new layer by clicking the layer palette and clicking the new layer tool, or the drop down arrow I should say. I'll click new layer, click OK, and working in the new layer, what I'm going to do is click the rectangular marquee tool. And this is kind of a little bit of a trick. I'm going to start way over here in the gray area. I'm going to draw, left mouse click, drag a box all the way down and across, and look up at the ruler at the top of the screen. And I'm going to drag this out to about 100 pixels and let go. Now, because we are using 72 pixels per inch, 100 pixels is basically going to be about 1.5 inches wide, and that'll be our margin for today. You could make it wider, but generally you'd probably want to make it, if anything, narrower. Next, change the foreground tool to any other color you would like. I usually only use web colors. I'm going to use black this time, 000000, and very carefully with the paint bucket tool, make sure you're working in that layer. Inside that little box area, click and fill it in with this black background. And now you can see that you've got it. By the way, to get rid of the blinking ants or whatever they call it, dancing ants thing, just you can simply say select, deselect, Control D, or just click off on the left anywhere in the gray area. So here you have this small graphic, but it's going to tile on the web. And what we'll do now is save the file. File, save as. Always save a graphic as a Photoshop file first, or whatever photo editor you're using. Make sure you save it in the appropriate folder. Usually it's in your web project images folder, and save it. Next, save for the web. File, save for web. And I'm going to recommend that you use, in this case, since we're only using colors, I'm noticing that a GIF image will make this extremely small in file size, less than 1K, and GIF looks very sharp. So we'll save it as a GIF and just click save it in the same folder. The next step would be in your web page, simply import the graphic, the GIF graphic that you've just saved, and import that as a background image for the body of your web page, and this will create a perfectly cool looking web page that is this yellow color for the main body, and all along the left side will be a black margin that is 100 pixels wide, and it'll fit any no matter how long the web page is. Now this would only work for web pages that are viewed in monitors that are less than 1280 pixels, or 1280 pixels or less. Most people are using those settings, so it should work perfectly for 90% of the people out there on the World Wide Web. Simple, huh? That's it.